everybody, and on behalf of the Mindalia.com team, welcome. Today, Daniel Bellone is joining us to tell us about the art of good relationships. Let's talk a bit about him before starting with this conference. Daniel Bellone is an international recognized spiritual leader and mantra singer. He gives courses to guide people in their process of personal and spiritual growth. So now let's not delay this any further and let's say welcome to Daniel. Hello Daniel, how are you? It's a pleasure for me having you here.
Hello, Delay. Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be here in this conference, sharing more about relationships. That is so important during these times. I think it's challenging for everyone.
As I said before, Daniel, the pleasure is mine for being here with you, sharing this space. Thank you for all the interesting information that I already know you are sharing with us. So whenever you want, you can start, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you. So, why the art of relationships? I think lately, most of us have been looking at our lives and trying to put it in perspective. What is really important in life? How to move from here on? What is really where am I going to put my heart, my energy? What do I want to build in my life? What is really meaningful? And the question of relationships comes to the forefront. Because if you think about it, what is there in your life without relationship? We tend to think that we have relationships in life. Me, I have relationships, but actually you are relationships. It's not that you have relationships, you are those relationships, because those relationships create who you are. That's the significance of relationships. Who are you without a name? Who are you without your body? Who are you without your past? Who are you without the people that you love, with your achievements, with your possessions, with your preferences, with your dreams? So basically, we have a relationship to all these different things that create us. That's why whenever we introduce ourselves to someone else, we start by basically establishing all these relationships. I am Daniel Bellone. I'm from Argentina. This is what I do. This is where I live. These are my parents. Basically, you create yourself in the context of relationships. That's why relationships are the most important factor in anyone's lives, because the significance of relationships is that is the indicator of the experience of happiness that you have in your life. We are trying to search for happiness, but actually happiness is the outcome of the state of your relationships. And when I'm talking about relationships, I'm talking about your relationship to health, your relationship to other people, your relationship to yourself, your relationship to life or to the divine or to God. There are different levels of relationships, and your relationship with money, your relationship with success, with career. So if you find yourself in a healthy place in relationships, that means that you have good relationships that give you energy. If the relationship with money gives you energy, if the relationship with your body gives you energy, if the relationship with your partner gives you energy, with your children, then you will find yourself in a happy position in life. That's why even the most advanced classes in happiness in Harvard University, their whole focus is about relationships. Relationships are the most important thing in our lives. So let's look at the three levels that we have in relationships. The most fundamental level has to do with the relationship that we have with ourselves. Of course, everything else is just a reflection of that primary relationship. And this is interesting to understand because at the same time, how can I have a relationship with myself? How can there be two me? In a way, someone that is relating to myself. And this is the paradox about the spiritual journey. Basically, is consciousness experiencing whatever happens in our mind, through our emotions, and in our physical bodies. And this is what we call ourselves, because we are so closely related. This consciousness is so focused on the experience that we're having on the level of the body, emotional, psychological, and even spiritual. Then we identify with this vehicle. which only lasts for a couple of years. We all know that at the end of the tunnel, we'll find, higher realms or the light, or we are going to drop this physical body at some point. So it's just a vehicle to have an experience during a period of time. But during that time, consciousness relates to the body, relates to the mind, and relates to the heart or to the spirit. So the first level of relationship, and the most challenging and at the same time subtle one, is the one that you have with yourself. How do you discover the relationship with yourself? Because even for most of the people, they are a mystery to themselves. They don't know themselves. That's why in ancient Vedic knowledge, that is the source of all forms of yoga that we see in the world, they say that the fire of self-knowledge is the key for enlightenment. The whole journey is self-knowledge. That's why in English, when we refer to an enlightened master, we usually call them seers. Why? Because they have the ability to see. To see what? To see themselves, their inner world. So there's a universe inside that is reflected outside, that we see in the stars and in the galaxies and in the different planets out there. That is just a reflection of how much you can find within yourself if only you care to look inside. So the relationship with yourself basically affects your relationship with others. Whenever we talk about relationships, the first thing that comes to mind is my wife, my children, my parents, my friends. So whatever is happening inside is what will be carried on or carried over to our relationships outside. So basically, the primary relationship that we have is the relationship with our parents, or whoever took that position in our lives. It could be an uncle, it could be a foster parent. I'm not talking about biological parents only. I'm talking about whoever took a position of raising you up during your early childhood. So your interaction with them was very meaningful and important because you arrived to certain conclusions about life, and from there on, you were expecting life to just replicate those same experiences and feelings and even life circumstances. That's why our unconscious has been running what we call the program of your life, where you have all your perceptions predetermined, where certain feelings are triggered throughout time in cycles, and basically all our responses that we offer to life are coming from our unconscious mind. Even a tennis player knows that whenever he's thinking about hitting the ball, he will lose performance. It's basically our unconscious running the whole show. And that's the beauty of life, because when you're in the zone, when you're in the flow, as a musician, I can feel that whenever I'm playing an instrument and I'm forgetting about it, I go into the experience of it at a higher level. I can really enjoy the mystery of the body performing and me being able to see the whole phenomenon in front of my eyes. So the relationship that you have with others is mirroring the relationship that you have with your parents, and especially in your early childhood. And then, of course, we have the relationship with life, or with God, or with the divine, however you want to call it, or with the higher intelligence. So also the relationship with the divine is a reflection of the relationship with your parents. And let's say when you were a child, you wanted to have a certain toy and you were asking your mother, "Mom, please get me this toy. I love it so much. I want to have it." And your mom said, "I don't have money," or "This is not the right time," or "You don't have good marks in school, so I would delay until you perform better in school, then I will give it to you." So whatever programming came into us during that time, we tend to project in our relationship with life and with the divine. That's why if we were hurt as children, then we tend to be hurt also in our relationship with the divine, and we move away from this relationship. So what is the key here to heal relationships in these three levels? We're talking about the level with ourselves, the level with others, and the level with life. Then we need to look into what is happening within ourselves. So there are more levels to this. Of course, we have our ancestors. We are not the first generation of people who come into existence. There were so many hundreds before us who were also in the pursuit of happiness, of success, of wealth, of health, and all their efforts make up whatever your life is today. So we have inherited from them not only properties and social status, we have also inherited intelligence, ways of seeing life, certain programs, certain responses, certain triggers within. So we can say that also we have inherited emotional and psychological aspects of their lives. And this has been ongoing. So basically, we are working on ourselves, things that are basically alive for a long, long time, carried over generation after generation. That's why when you go deep enough, you realize that your dreams and your goals and your desires are not really yours, are just an extension of this life energy that is trying to reach a higher level, to move higher in frequency. Like a musical octave, if you're playing the piano, you can find that the higher notes reflect the lower notes, but in a higher frequency. So basically, we take whatever is not pure from our ancestors and we work it out through our lives. And this serves also our spiritual growth that has to do with learning lessons to become more sensitive and for the flowering of the heart. This is one of the big milestones in the spiritual journey. So how does this information that was basically experienced by our ancestors flowing into our lives and into our future generations? So this is where the concept of karma comes into play. And karma means basically that every action creates a reaction. There's a cycle, there's a circle that is initiated whenever you plant a seed. And the quality of the seed will determine the effect of the whole cycle. We can, in a big range, we can say that we have positive seeds and negative seeds in terms of what kind of feelings evoke within ourselves and within others. So if our actions create happy opportunities and feelings and situations for others and for ourselves, we are planting seeds of positive karma. And if those situations are a source of suffering, then we are planting seeds of negative karma. We are unconscious of the suffering that we create in our lives, especially when it comes to others, because the nature of the mind is to be self-centered. So it's always about me. What do I need? What do I want? The nature of the mind is to look at one's need. And only when you are fulfilled, you're able to open your eyes and see what other people need around me. So for most of human beings, they are unconscious of the consequences of their actions. That means they're accumulating bad karma unconsciously that is coming to their lives as opportunities to become more sensitive. So basically, the whole purpose of this karma that is flowing through our ancestry, through our parents, into our lives, is to help us achieve this great milestone that is the flowering of the heart. That's why when we talk about Buddha, one of his greatest qualities is the quality of compassion. And what is really compassion? Compassion is that empathy for the suffering of others. A being that is free, like the Buddha, and is enlightened, is able to feel how other person is suffering and connect completely. That act of connection is healing, both for Buddha and for the other person. There's an experience of oneness whenever there is no resistance. So we are inheriting these challenges that are being ongoing for a long time so that we can work them out and become more sensitive to life. So whenever we have an experience of suffering in the past and we are not able to deal with it completely, that means it leaves a residue in our consciousness. It goes into the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is a supercomputer that is generating the experience of life that we have. So this hurt that is unresolved becomes a negative program. Because hurt in itself as an emotion is very unstable, it will try to couple with a thinking experience or pattern or idea that matches that level of vibration. Let's say I was hurt because I was rejected, then I will try to match it with a thought that it's in accordance with that feeling. I'm rejected because I'm not worthy. Then that is the program that gets installed in the unconscious mind. We tend to forget about it because the mind is all the time seeking for pleasure and trying to avoid pain. That's why most of the time we are not even conscious of the suffering within us. So, what is the solution to this problem? How can I come out of negative programming that in turn is hurting my relationships? It's not only hurting myself, it's also hurting my relationships with others and my relationships to life, to God. So basically, working on yourself is the key. And here I would like to bring into attention what is called the art of listening. So whenever we are addressing a problem in the external world, we have to do something to achieve a solution. Let's say you're driving your car, one of your tires goes flat. You need to change the tire if you want to continue your journey. If you do nothing, basically the result won't change. You will still be sitting there unable to drive. So in the external world, problems need an action to arrive to a solution. So you need to have an active approach to resolving problems. And we all know this. But when it comes to the inner world, when it comes to the world of emotions and thinking, it's actually the opposite. You need a passive approach. Because whatever you do to change what you don't like in the inner world, or what you define as a challenge, or something that is undesirable, what happens is it becomes resistance. And resistance is what persists. Whatever you resist, persists. So how do we go about these uncomfortable feelings that are basically the source of the problems that we face in the relationship with money, in the relationship with success, in the relationship with your partner, your children, your parents, your friends, your career at large? Well, we need to become like a great experiencer, like a witness. We need to be able to look inside without having any expectations and without judging anything as good or bad. We need to be able to get in touch with whatever is there. And this is what I call the what is. Whatever is, that's what you need to be looking at this particular moment in time. So let's say you had a conversation with your wife, some money issue came up, and you feel uncomfortable. So what is there, what is this discomfort. Maybe it's a feeling that you're not understood, or maybe you're angry about something. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to become conscious of what's happening to you. The art of listening, it's all about observation. So naturally, the mind will tend to arrive to a conclusion because the mind is unstable. It wants to land somewhere. It cannot stay with information. It wants to use information to build a story and the resolution to the story. That's why everyone is trying to become happy by fulfilling a story. So you need to become aware of how the mind is not able to stay with the what is. It's all the time trying to run away by arriving to conclusions or blaming someone or avoiding it altogether, or by seeking pleasures externally like eating something sweet or going for a walk and trying to think about something else. The moment you realize that this discomfort that is happening to you is automatically because we are programmed to do this again and again. That's why it's unconscious. It's an unconscious program that the mind is trying to avoid, confront inner suffering. So when we are talking about the art of listening to yourself, it's a great endeavor because you're really turning around your whole biology by this act of inner observation. That's why seeing yourself is the first step, and seeing yourself is the last step. There's no other step. It's not that you see yourself to arrive somewhere. Seeing can never have another goal beyond seeing in itself. That's when the freedom happens. So what will happen to you if you're able to pay attention fully to yourself, stay with the discomfort without judging it, and without trying to get to any conclusion? Then the first thing that happens is your reactions to life will become responses. That means you won't be in the heat of the moment talking out loud things that you will regret later. This is usually what happens, and why relationships have these different arguments and problems is because they don't have the ability to listen to themselves and to process whatever is happening within themselves. So this fragmented part of themselves are being projected out, and they create further suffering. They hurt relationships. Then the second thing that will happen is you will start experiencing within yourself this discomfort until it dissolves completely. It's like sitting on a fire because it burns and it's not comfortable. The mind would like to run away from it through all these different escape routes, physical escape routes, psychological escape routes by blaming or analyzing or justifying, or even spiritually by trying to find a deeper meaning to life or with philosophy. So we need to become aware of how we are unable to stay with whatever is happening to us. And when that happens, that's where the divine intervention comes in. This is what I call grace or divine intervention. Suddenly, you start becoming free with the problem. We think that the only way to get out of the problem is to become free from the problem, but actually you can become free with the problem. And that happens when you stop resisting whatever is happening inside of you. Suddenly you allow yourself to be however you feel, and that in itself, the lack of resistance, the lack of trying to change, it's a great source of joy. It's a liberation in itself. Then on the second level, the transformation of the content occurs. If you were angry, then you will start feeling peaceful. If you felt rejected, then you will start feeling loved. But that happens only when you stop resisting it. And that is what leads to a different response in your life. Instead of reacting right away, you process it internally, and whatever you give out is something that is really in tune with the kind of life that you want to create. So I would like to share with you a simple mantra. I use mantras to install the intentions that I have for my life. And this mantra basically is a mantra to heal relationships. And I use it because whenever you are focusing in creating what you want, the things that are not in line with that will be exposed. Let's say you want to have beautiful relationships, but at the same time you feel you don't have them, then all those problems in relationships will become more evident as you are seeking for that particular intention. So the mantra is displayed here in the background. You can see it on this side, actually. And it says like this: Om Shri Bandhavya Pradataya Namaha. Om Shri Bandhavya Pradataya Namaha. Om Shri Bandhavya Pradataya Namaha. So I would like to chant this mantra for a few repetitions. You can chant along with me and take this intention that you're able to create beautiful relationships in your life. Bandhavya means relationships. Pradataya is the giver of good relationships. And Shri is evoking an aspect of the cosmic mind that is auspicious, positive, and benefic. So without further ado, I would like to play a little backing music that will help us meditate. And for the next 3 to 4 minutes, we will be chanting this mantra. Om Shri Bandhavya Pradataya Namaha. Om Shri Bandhavya Pradataya Namaha. Om Shri Bandhavya Pradataya Namaha. Baladvyapradhataya Namaha. Om Shri Bandhavyapradataya Namaha. Om Shri Bandhavyapradataya Namaha. Om Shri Bandhavyapradataya Namaha. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. You can gently now open your eyes and slowly come back to this presentation with your eyes open. Thank you so much.
Daniel, thank you so much for this useful and beautiful information, and of course for this marvelous meditation you did right now. If you agree, let's start incorporating into our conversation some questions from the people watching us, and we are starting with Joseph. He's writing from the United States, and he says, "How to improve my relationship with myself? I have a very low self-esteem, no confidence, and I always believe that I am not enough or that I am not up to the task."
Well, Joseph, the first step is always becoming conscious of the problem, which you already are because you're asking this question. And then that will bring up some uncomfortable emotion. Usually, we run away and we escape these emotions because we don't like them. We would like something else to be there instead. But if you stay with it without judging it, without trying to change it, then what happens is you start going deeper into it. So you can see it in meditation if you have a little place in your house where you can be quiet for a while and try to stay with that emotion like if you were holding a newborn baby. Just hold it. And as you hold it, your mind will start revealing a deeper aspect of the problem. It could be a story from the past or an experience from the past, or maybe a belief system, maybe something that we heard or we learned from others. So as you get in touch with the source of the problem, that personality that takes over your life every now and then will be discharged. And instead, another personality will take its place. Remember, we cannot erase our suffering. We can just reprogram ourselves to respond from a higher consciousness.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Let's continue with Luz. She is asking from Spain, and she says, "How to regain my relationship with my parents? We have not had contact for years and years, and although I feel like it's time to leave the past behind, I am not quite overcoming my pride. On the other hand, I do not know how they will react, and I am afraid of their rejection. Thank you very much."
Well, the big question is, what is more important? To regain that relationship or to hold on to the pride? The pride will never give you anything valuable and is stealing the happiness that is there in that relationship for you. And if your relationship with your parents is not set or right, it will bring all sorts of problems to other relationships. And at the end of the day, once your time is up in this planet, you will do a life review, but from a different perspective. Just imagine yourself next to the most amazing, compassionate, loving light that you can ever imagine, and looking at your life from that perspective. the only thing that really matters is how much you loved. All the other things look like little things here and there, but not really important things. The only thing that becomes important and the outcome of this whole experience in your life is how much you were able to forgive, how much love you gave out and you have received. So if you make this your priority, you will find the courage to call your parents or to send them a message, even with the risk of being rejected. That doesn't really matter because you're already suffering. That suffering will always be less than this suffering. So I highly encourage you to take steps towards healing that relationship because only great things will come.
All right, let's continue. Thank you very much, Daniel, for this beautiful answer. Let's continue with Matias from Argentina. He says, "Hi, Daniel. It's so hard for me to concentrate and practice meditation. Any tips?"
Yeah, so my definition of meditation is not something that you do, it's something that happens to you. So, what do I mean by this? If you do it, it's again doing something in the inner world, which again, I said it a few minutes ago that action in the inner world creates resistance. So, what is it exactly the meditation that we're talking about? We are talking about becoming conscious, becoming aware, opening your eyes to layers of yourself and reality around you that you were not aware because you were not paying attention. And you can start by simply becoming mindful of this moment. Like if you are hearing a bird outside of your house, or the sound of a car, or the sound of the fan of the computer, of your, whatever is happening around you, there's so much information that we are giving for granted and we are basically not being sensitive to. The same thing happens inside of you. So the simple act of becoming aware how you feel, what are your thoughts, what are your frustrations, that is the beginning of meditation. And once you get a grab on it, you don't need to sit and do it. It happens automatically. Of course, taking a time to sit and meditate will help you in the beginning, because if you don't get that engine started, it's very hard to do it on the move. So I would suggest you in the beginning to try to sit at least for 10 minutes. For me in the beginning, it was only 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and that grew to half an hour, to an hour. And later on, it continued even beyond the sitting meditation time.
Let's continue with Maria del Mar Porras. She is writing us from Spain and from Facebook, by Facebook. "I attract people who are not available for me. I want deep connections, but others just run away. How can I attract the kind of relationship that I want and I need?"
So you need to work on yourself. This is many times a reflection of the relationship you share with your parents. It could be something that they went through and now is mirroring in your life, or something that you reject from them because you don't want to be like them because they suffered. Like, for example, if as a teenager you thought that your parents were not successful enough or loving enough or fun enough, then we take a decision that we want to go in a different direction. But that decision is coming out of basically negating their experience. We don't like that and we don't want to be like them. So that creates actually a karmic cycle where you become like your parents. Life is trying to show you that you are no different and to open your heart. So whenever you heal that relationship going behind, you will be able to set right those unconscious programs that are basically sending out the signals into your life and attracting all these different relationships that again and again give you the same outcome. So imagine yourself as an antenna that is emitting information and is sending requests. Whoever is coming to fulfill those requests have to do with whatever is happening inside of you. So the secret to those successful relationships are not outside. It's not in the people basically that you meet, because they will change their behavior to match your frequency. The secret is in getting in touch with yourself and going deep enough to be able to spot where the problem started. It's not an intellectual process where you need to think. It's more about feeling. The feeling of frustration will lead you there. So go with your heart, not with your mind. You're not trying to fish for information. That's so complex when it comes to the unconscious mind because there's so much going on there. Just allow your heart to sink deeper into what you feel. And prayer is always a great thing because how can we sort out obstacles in the inner world? What do we know? What kind of power do we have over this supercomputer? Very little. But when your heart opens up to the higher intelligence that we are, then things seem to move into the right direction and you have a breakthrough.
With Daniel from the United Kingdom. He says, Daniel, as you, he says, I have real problems to relate to others. That makes very difficult for me to having friends. How do I overcome shyness? Because it is causing serious problems to me and to my life.
When we were children, we were free and we could express ourselves however we wanted, and we were not aware of judgment. We didn't judge ourselves and we didn't care about people's judgments. That's why children are so honest and straightforward. They are even innocent in the way they approach their expressions, you know? But as we grow older, we are conditioned to behave in a certain way. This is a good boy, this is a bad boy. If you follow this, you will get these rewards. If you follow that, you will receive these punishments. So we start using that against ourselves. We start judging ourselves, saying, I shouldn't feel like this. I shouldn't think this. This is wrong. I need to change this in me. So we start feeling ashamed of who we are. And because we are ashamed of who we are, we don't want other people to be ashamed of us. So we start using masks to pretend that we are someone different to who we really are. Because we think if they get to know the real me, they will move away from me. So what happens is when you meet someone, you start feeling so uncomfortable inside, and you think it's because you don't know how to relate to the other, or you're very shy, but actually it's this discomfort of being discovered. The real you can be discovered, and that would be catastrophic. And in reality, that's not the case. This is just a fear. The moment you discover love for yourself and you accept yourself, all that insecurity in relationship with others will also drop. You will be able to be yourself and say whatever you want, of course, in a respectful way. You don't want to hurt anyone. You don't want to be, too hot-headed in a way. But being yourself will bring you comfort and you will be in peace with who you are. That will be reflected in the relationships around you, and relationship will become a second nature. So keep on working on yourself and discovering acceptance for who you are. It doesn't matter what you have done in the past or what you think or what your feelings are. If you find peace within yourself, you will expect others to love you as you are.
Daniel, let's answer one question more. Julieta from Cuba asks, is there any mantra or meditation to send our blessings and positive energy to another person? For example, to help them in their healing process if they are sick?
Yes, definitely. You can use mantras for that. But beyond the mantra, the most important thing is your intention and how much feeling you can build up inside. So let's say you're trying to send a prayer to your mother because she has some kind of physical illness, and you really feel for her pain and it really matters to you. Well, that prayer is going to be very powerful. That healing that you're sending out is going to definitely bring about a transformation in her life. But let's say someone that you don't know and you don't feel connected to, and you cannot really feel their suffering, they're saying, please pray for me. Then yes, you can make a prayer for them, but that prayer won't be very powerful because the level of success of the prayer has to do with the level of your engagement emotionally, in a way. How much it matters to you for that outcome to be there, for that thing to happen in that way. So you can use a mantra to build that experience, or you can just tune into your heart and do it directly. So if you would like to sing a mantra, there's a mantra in Kundalini Yoga that says Ra, Ma, Da, Sa, Se, So, hum. The short word for this mantra is called Ramadasa. Ramadasa. And if you search in Spotify, you can find a version that I have, or you can find it all over the place. There are many beautiful versions of this mantra. It's an ancient mantra, and it's used purposely for healing relationships and healing your physical body as well.
Dear friends of Mindalia, thank you very much for all of your questions. Thank you very much for being patient with me, because I'm not English, but I try to do it my best to bring this information to everybody. Daniel, you've got a brilliant English. Thank you very much for being here with us today. For you to feel happy, I want to tell you about the people that has been watching us today, because they join us from different countries like Mexico, Spain, the United States, the United Kingdom, Argentina, or Cuba. Thank you very, very much. And of course, I'm giving you a few seconds to say goodbye or for sharing your final thoughts for today.
Thank you so much, Dalai. I'm so delighted to be here. And I know that it's a challenging time for many of us. And if you have more awareness about your relationships, I'm sure that your life quality will increase dramatically. I want to send out a message of hope that this is a great time for us to evolve and to grow spiritually and to open our hearts. If we can only face those parts of ourselves that we have been avoiding for so long, this is the opportunity that we have as humanity to grow stronger together. So thank you so much for joining me during these few minutes of this presentation. I really hope that your life is improved by this information and blessings.
Thank you one more time, Daniel. As I said before, it has been a real pleasure for me and for Mindalia, of course, having you here today. And to you, dear friends of Mindalia, remember you can join us through our different platforms in YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, VK, and Vaun Live. I also want you to know that you can enjoy all our content in Mindalia Radio, 24 hours of conscious content. And you can find this in our website, www.mindaliaradio.com. Before saying goodbye, I have to tell you that Mindalia.com is a non-profit organization, and you can collaborate with us by liking our content, leaving us a positive comment, subscribing to our channel or different platforms, and of course by sharing this video with someone else. Finally, if you want, you can donate through a link you will find in our website, www.mindalia.com. By doing so, you help us to keep creating more content like the one you enjoyed with us today. Having said that and feeling really, really grateful, I am ready to say goodbye for now until a next Mindalia live streaming. See you soon.